Hi, this is Shelly, and this is my YouTube channel, AI Economics. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence, and I teach AI concepts to business management students decoded for a business lens. If you're interested in this kind of content, please do subscribe. Now to today's video. This is part of a sequence of videos that I am developing on developing generative AI models for business managers. It's not just business managers, it's anyone from a non technical background. The context for this is that as I went through various YouTube videos on the topic of creating your own low code, no code generative AI applications, I realized that there's a lot of artificial intelligence concepts which are presumed to be known at the back end. They may not even be referenced in the video. As a result, you may very well follow along even on the coding aspect. However, when it comes to creating your own application, you will be completely lost. So in this sequence of videos, I begin at the beginning and I follow along with a sequence of capsule videos which reference each concept as mostly at a high level and at an intuitive level, because I think it's more important to understand the concept rather than the nitty gritties. The nitty gritties will come later. And so please, let's now move on to what is today's video. Today's video is on retrieval augmented generation systems. In the previous video, I had talked about what is a RAG system conceptually and intuitively. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about it more concretely. A RAG system is actually intuitively quite a simple concept, and it is very appealing and makes sense. However, to implement it in the real life world as an application, there is a lot more complexity to it. And it is this complexity that we need to understand what are the components of a RAG system. So let's get to it. So, what are the components of a RAG system? A RAG system is essentially a means by which a large language model such as ChatGPT is able to access company specific documents and then carry out some processing and return an answer which is definitely more context driven than had it relied on its own encoded knowledge system. The advantage with the RAG system is that for the company, their private data remains their private data. It does not get in any way transmitted into ChatGPT's parameters. So let's get to it and let's see what is a RAG system. All right. So in terms of a RAG system, we can think of it as being a two-step broadly process. Now, to understand the components of a RAG system, please, the first thing we have to understand is that the first step is creation of a company-specific corpus in the form of a vector database. Now, here's your company-specific corpus. It could be your HR documents, for example. And then these have to be created, these have to be inputted into a model and creation of text into word embeddings or vectors. Now, this creation of word embeddings or vectors cannot just happen on its own. It requires a model. Now, you might say that why? Oh, great. So we send our data to ChatGPT to make into word vectors. Well, you could do that, but it's an expensive solution, point number one. And point number two, it is not ChatGPT or models such as ChatGPT, such as Gemini, etc., are really optimized more from the perspective of, natural language understanding and text generation rather than generating optimized word embeddings. So it's probably better to use a smaller and more efficient model. And I will come to that in the next slide. And what are word vectors? Word vectors, for those of you who missed out on my earlier videos on what are the word vectors, I am referencing the link in the comments below. And please do refer to it to understand what are word vectors and embeddings. But briefly, it is just that the computer and language models in particular are not able to understand words per se, and there is a need to convert them into word vectors which sort of map out the relationships of the word has with other words and the way it's used, and hence makes we can use mathematics to understand the interrelationships of language. All right. Once you have this word vector created, these need to be stored somewhere, because it's not that they can be stored in the cloud just anywhere. They definitely need to be kept somewhere. And there is typically optimized vector databases which are very optimized for storing word embeddings and searching them, which are available. Okay, so this is your first system, which is basically making sure that your company data gets encoded. The second part of the system is what happens when a user generates a query, say about their privilege leave. The first thing that is done is that this query is translated into a word vector again. It is sent and a semantic search is carried out in the vector database using something called cosine similarity, which again is a video which I have taken up earlier, but which again is, I will just briefly summarize it as a method, which is mathematical method which determines how similar two words or documents are to each other. So on the basis of semantic similarity or cosine similarity, we identify certain documents which are relevant to our privilege leave query. These are then sent back again to the ChatGPT. Then ChatGPT uses these documents as context and generates an answer, natural language answer, based on the information that is provided to it in the corpus, and this is then given to it. So as you can see, there is quite a few steps involved in the RAG process. Let's look at it in a more systematic fashion now. The first phase of RAG is therefore generating your embeddings of documents. And as I said before, this is typically done using a smaller model, such a large language model, such as BERT or GPT, or Distilbert is another example, which are used typically to generate these embeddings, because these models are much more optimized towards embedding generation. The second thing is the embeddings are stored in a vector database. Again, this is a database which is optimized for being searched using cosine similarity. So again, there are various such databases available. Examples include Pinecone, Milvus, FAISS, which is from Facebook, etc. These are all examples of vector database libraries. The third phase is basically going to be query processing and document retrieval. This is carried out by converting your query to an embedding, a word vector, and then carrying out a similarity search with various documents which are in the vector database. The phase 4 is basically these retrieved documents are then used by a large language model such as GPT-4 or Gemini or Claude, for example, to generate a response which is based on the information provided. So as you can see, this is a very powerful model which follows a definite sequence. So what are the basic requirements of a RAG system? And first of all, a RAG system requires a large language model to generate the embeddings. And this is a smaller model, typically such as BERT or Distilbert. These are free models which are available on Hugging Face. The second thing that it requires is a vector database to store embeddings. Libraries for this include FAISS, which is from Facebook, Pinecone, and Milvus, etc. And the third thing is it requires a larger language model such as GPT-4 to generate the text responses, producing a coherent and contextually relevant response to the query. So as you can see, there's quite a bit involved architecturally to a RAG system, and therefore it's not as straightforward as you would imagine it to be. This is one of the reasons why, and there is quite a bit of complex data engineering involved. And hence, this is one of the reasons why many corporates are still very much in the pilot and developmental phase rather than that they have rolled out such generative AI applications to production. And if so, if you like this video, and please do consider subscribing to my channel and also give a thumbs up as it helps with the algorithm. In the next video, I'm going to continue with all the challenges and watchouts that are problems associated with RAG systems and how they can then be resolved using an orchestration software such as LangChain. So see you in my next video.